Good evening. Police have confirmed that they're investigating threats against the human rights lawyer Amr Anwar. Mr Anwar, who lives in Glasgow, said he received death threats after calling for unity within Scotland's Muslim community. Katrina Renton reports.
Last week, Amr Anwar chaired an event at Hampden Park. He says this is the first time Ahmadiyya and Sunni Muslims and Pakistani Christians have shared a platform.
Many of you, and especially those within our community, will be wondering how it is possible for those of us sat on this platform today to be sitting alongside each other when we have appeared so divided over the last few days, over the last several weeks and months and possibly years. The reason is quite simple. This beautiful city of Glasgow has seen enough sectarian strife to last it many lifetimes.
The event was a call for unity in the wake of the killing of shopkeeper Asad Shah, an Ahmadiyya Muslim. 32-year-old Tanzir Ahmed from Bradford, who police have also said is a Muslim, was charged with his murder. It was also a week when allegations were made that two Scottish Muslim leaders, Sabir Ali, head of religious events at the Glasgow Central Mosque, and the leader of the Polwarth Mosque in Edinburgh, Hafiz Abdul Hamid, had links to a banned group called Sipa Isaba, which targets Shia Muslims and other minority groups. Mr Ali denies the allegations and Mr Hamid has yet to respond to the BBC. Mr Anwar says over the past few weeks, some have tried to whip up abuse and hatred against him on social media for speaking out against extremism. He also says he's received late-night phone calls. He said he's had threats on his life before, but on this occasion I could no longer remain silent because of a small minority who believe they can silence me by creating a climate of fear. Police are investigating the threats against him. Katrina Renton reporting Scotland, Glasgow.
Scotland's outgoing Lord Advocate Frank Mulholland has said it is inconceivable that a fatal accident inquiry will not be held into the M9 crash which claimed 2 lives last summer. Lamara Bell and John Newell died after lying in a crashed car for 3 days after it was first reported to police. Opposition politicians are raising questions about a so-called secret agreement between the Scottish Government and Chinese companies. Meanwhile, the Labour leader has spoken publicly for the first time since making controversial comments about independence. With more on the Holyrood campaign, here's our political correspondent, Andrew Kerr.
Ready for boarding, the SNP leader is due to embark on a trip to the Northern Isles, pledging millions more for mental health before casting off. But Nicola Sturgeon's opponents are questioning why an agreement between Scotland and Chinese companies, which could be worth up to £10 billion, was signed 2 weeks ago. The Chinese media knew about it, but it seems that MSPs and the Scottish media didn't know.
There's actually no agreement on the substance of any of this at all. And, you know, if there is any proposals in the future to have investment into actual projects, and they'll be scrutinised in the normal way by the Scottish Parliament.
The Liberal Democrat leader was also campaigning for better mental health services, meeting young people making a documentary on the issue. But he wants to know if there's anything to hide about the Chinese deal.
People will expect to know, will expect answers from the government as to what this is all about, what the money is going to be spent on, and what has been given in return to the Chinese for this investment.
Meanwhile, here in Glasgow, the Labour leader was facing the cameras for the first time after she gave a controversial interview. Kezia Dugdale had said it's not inconceivable that she could support a yes vote if the UK leaves the EU. Labour got tied up in the issue as they tried to say they were the only ones against austerity. Ms Dugdale clarified the position.
There'll be a very clear statement in our manifesto opposing a second referendum on independence. If there ever was to be one, I would vote no in that for the same reasons I voted no last time. But we have to move on from the referendum.
An irresistible companion for the Tory leader.
He's eating my ear.
She pounced on her political opponent.
The Labour Party is all over the place and now it's descending into a civil war. If people want a strong opposition that will always stand up for Scotland's place in the United Kingdom and always try and hold the SNP to account, then the Scottish Conservatives are behind our union.
No pause for thought on a busy campaign trail today. Andrew Kerr, reporting Scotland.
Football, and in the Premiership, Aberdeen beat Hamilton 3-0 to cut Celtic's lead at the top back to 4 points. Celtic have a game in hand. The weather now with Gillian.
Thanks, Alistair. And it was a drying up process for most of us today. Good evening to you. We even ended up with a wee bit of brightness, but no sooner have we chased one weather front away to the north than we've got another approaching from the southwest. And after a dry spell for most of us this evening, we'll see rain returning across southern and central Scotland, turning quite heavy in places through the early hours. Temperature-wise, similar to last night, 4 to 7 Celsius. But tomorrow it's cloudy with outbreaks of rain for most of us. Some mist, some hill fog in the mix too. Best of the limited brightness, Shetland, the Western Isles and the northwest coast seeing some drier spells, and brightening up across the south later in the day too, though we can't rule out a few sharp showers over the borders. Temperatures, nothing to write home about, but winds at least will be mainly light. And then for Tuesday, it's another cloudy, wet start, improving gradually from the west as the day goes on with a wee bit of brightness. That's the forecast.
Thanks, Gillian. We're back just after the 10 o'clock news. Bye for now.